Okay, so in this video we're starting a new chapter and we're going to be talking about trigonometry, which is pretty much the study of right triangles. In this first video, it's pretty much review. We're just going over the 6 basic trig functions. You might know them as right triangle ratios. So let's get started. So the ratios of right triangles, 3 sides, are used to define the 6 trigonometric functions. Again, you probably have heard of these before: sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, and cotangent. These are all based off the sides of a right triangle. So for instance, sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, tangent is opposite over adjacent, cosecant is hypotenuse over opposite, and secant is hypotenuse over adjacent, and then finally cotangent is adjacent over opposite. You might have noticed that the cosecant, secant, and cotangent ratios are simply the reciprocals of the sine, cosine, and tangent functions. So for instance, cosecant is the reciprocal of the sine function, so it has a value of 1 over the sine. Likewise, secant is the reciprocal of cosine, cotangent is the reciprocal over tangent. So let's do a quick example. We want to evaluate the 6 trig functions of the angle shown here. So we have a hypotenuse. Now, since we're going to do all 6 of these trig functions, and some of those need the hypotenuse, I'm going to go ahead and figure out what the hypotenuse is using the Pythagorean theorem. So anytime you have a right triangle, we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem. So I have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I'm going to plug in what I know. So I know 3 squared plus 4 squared equals c squared. So 9 plus 16 is c squared. So 25 is c squared, which means c, my hypotenuse, has to be 5. So I'm going to fill in my picture. Now I'm ready to start doing my 6 trig ratios. Excuse me. Alright, so the first one, let's do sine. Okay, so remember, and if you need to go back and look on your notes like I just did on the previous slide, go back and look at that or rewind the video. So the sine of theta, the angle, is the opposite over the hypotenuse. Now, when we're talking about the opposite, it's always in relationship to where theta is. So what you might want to do before you even get started with this is just say, all right, well, here's theta, so this has to be opposite. It's directly across. Adjacent means beside, so I'm going to call that adjacent, and then obviously the hypotenuse is always across from 90. Alright, so sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so 4 over 5. That one's done. Cosine of the angle theta is adjacent over hypotenuse, so 3 over 5. And then the tangent of the angle theta is opposite over adjacent. So it's 4 over 3. Okay, now let's do the same thing, but this time with the reciprocal functions. Okay, so sine matches up with cosecant of theta, which was, remember, just 1 over sine of theta. So what I'm saying is, when I say cosecant is going to be 1 over 4/5, which if you do this in your head or in a calculator, either one, whatever works best for you, that's going to come out to be 5/4. Secant matches up with cosine. So secant of theta is 1 over cosine theta. So it's 1 over 3/5. Again, use a calculator if you need to, but this is going to come out to be 5/3. And then finally, the last one, cotangent matches up with tangent. So it's 1 over tangent of theta, which means it's going to be 1 over 4/3. Again, use a calculator if you need to, so 3/4. All right, so we have all 6 trig ratios. We had to do a little bit of work for cosecant, secant, and cotangent, but we just remember those are the reciprocals of the sine, cosine, and tangent ratios, respectively. And that's it for this video. Very basic stuff, should be reviewed for you. As always, though, if you got questions, let me know.